Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. As per usual, we have updates, we have a little meat of the matter, and we close in with a little is it true? Questions and is it true? So sit back, get your popcorn and your Coke, because you know it's a movie.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.
Welcome back. I beg your indulgence as I make a couple corrections from last week's episodes. The name of the managing director of the National Lottery Authority is Miss Cindy Henry and not Cindy Telesford. I don't even know who Cindy Telesford is. And I do hope if there's a Cindy Telesford, I apologize for any inconveniences. Cause Cindy Henry is the managing director of the Lottery Authority and the girlfriend of the chairman, Mr. William Batiste. It's Cindy Henry. And the next one is to do with the position of chairman of CARICOM. I even give them too much time. I said annually, but it is rotated every 6 months. So members of the NDC, our prime minister only has 6 months in that position before it is handed over to another member state, another CARICOM member state. It's not a permanent thing, as I mentioned last week. It's not annual, as I said. It is a 6-month rotation. Let's move on, now that I've made these corrections. So the lights on the Carnival. Look, the lights are gone. And of course, you know, I've been celebrating, and most people have been celebrating. And right away we said, okay, well, Carnival would be on the Carnage. Hey, we forget, well, I did, that H.A. Blaze Street is closed from the junction, from the Green Street junction, and the traffic goes through Green Street now. So imagine a trailer truck going through Green Street and taking Miss Moodoo Corner to go down Baines Alley. Let's just imagine that for a minute. So there's no Carnival on the Carnage anyway, because these trucks cannot do the one-way Green Street. Some of them might be able to if they're not vehicles parked on the side, which they are always. But when it comes to Miss Moodoo Corner, to go down Green Street, Baines Alley, not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So the road that got damaged over a year ago, July 2023, down the road by Bailey's funeral home, right? When we had the rains and we had slides and so all throughout the island. And that piece of road fell into the yard on the Carnage there. And that place has stayed like that for almost a year. Is when it started to chip away and fall apart again, is when they decide, they go, well, they didn't have a choice. Right now, it's a bicycle path that's there. So they had to block the road from H.A. Blaze and the Green Street Junction and divert the traffic through Green Street. So there's no Carnival on the Carnage because the trucks can't come back whilst other bands are coming, and you know the many bands we have these days, and it can't. Where else would it go? Where else? So that's it. but it sheds light on the Ministry of Infrastructure. What is going on with that ministry? It took the Ministry of Infrastructure 1 year later, and only after the road started to shell and chip away. The Prime Minister, however, had this to say when asked about the removal of the lights.
If the lights are off or have been moved, it's largely to do with the ongoing upcoming Carnival events because of the way the lights are positioned. A lot of the large trailer trucks which carry revelers and the sound systems and so on would find it difficult to pass. So a plea was made by the Spice Mass Corporation to see how we could address the issue.
The Prime Minister said the lights would potentially be reinstalled after the Carnival season.
There has been some internal discussions as to what we treat with it. I think the National Organizing Committee for the 50th Anniversary of Independence certainly want to be able to leave the lights as a legacy. Whether we leave it on the carriage or we find a more suitable location is something that we look at, or just a specific part of the carriage where it doesn't interfere with vehicular traffic. That's also an option. I'm not in a position to say whether a definitive decision has been made on it, but we would certainly want to be able to leave them at some point, whether it's on the carriage itself or somewhere else, as obviously one of the enduring legacies of the 50th anniversary independence.
Legacy, say no. Those lights of legacy, and put them back, and then what? Next Carnival, take them down again? But even the Minister of Infrastructure ain't realized. He said they moved the lights so the trucks could come across the carriage. Even the Minister of Infrastructure don't know or didn't realize, but I believe he don't know, truly. I believe he ain't even know that the roadblock and the trucks can go down Baines Alley. Can't take the Moodoo corner. Cannot take the corner, right? I mean, find another place to put them and pay your surrogates again, your friends. Pay them again to put up the lights somewhere else, but forget the carriage. Because we already spent, I heard in the news actually, that same newscast said $20,000 was spent. No, Missy, no. 75,000 plus. 500,000 for the steel guy, the guy who put up the metal works. I want to say steel, not steel by Sonny, I mean, the metal work. 500 plus for him, and 200 plus for the ones who did the electrical work. Right? $750,000 was spent on those lights. And if you put them back up, you pay to put them back up. And then you pay to take them down again next Carnival and put it. No. We're not doing that, Prime Minister. We're not doing that. He said their legacy. Whose what? Whose legacy? Whose legacy these lights belong to? You had $22.5 million to jump up with, to play up with, to use up, and spend it on your friends and your family. Waste the money. Up to now, y'all can give account of the money spent up till now. The people of Petit Martinique was happy to welcome volunteers from Grenada. On Saturday, the 3rd of August, and I quote, "We are grateful for the volunteers from Grenada who have arrived on island this morning to assist with the cleaning up, I guess. We thank Minister Andy Williams and his team for coordinating and organizing." So we got some results again. They're listening. Petit Martinique both arrived to help with the cleanup. So they got assistance on Saturday. However, Petit Martinique is plagued with a water problem at the moment. It's like they just can't catch a break. In a release put out by NAWASA, captioned water supply challenges, Petit Martinique desalination plant And I'm going to read that very quickly to you from my phone. In a release from NAWASA, caption, Water Supply Challenges, Petit Martinique Desalination Plant. The National Water and Sewerage Authority, NAWASA, advises that we are currently experiencing challenges with the production of water for Petit Martinique Desalination Plant due to a system malfunction. As a result, we are unable to distribute water at this time. Efforts are being made to expedite the shipment of the required part. However, we cannot provide a timeline for when the plant would be operational again. NAWASA sincerely apologizes for the inconvenience caused and appreciates your patience as we work to resolve this issue as quickly as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Now, this after the Samaritan Purse offered NAWASA 2 desalination plants they had on the island of Carriacou. Folks, the Samaritan Purse was operating 2 desalination plants in Carriacou, which also serviced Petit Martinique as well. They carried water to Petit Martinique both by airlift and by boat. Neither the government of Grenada nor NAWASA saw it prudent to approach the Samaritan Purse on their packing up to leave to ask for the plants. However, the Samaritan Purse approached NAWASA, offering to leave the plants with them once they are willing to operate the plants, right? NAWASA turned down the offer, citing their plants can adequately supply Carriacou and the Petit Martinique, and therefore didn't need the 2 desalination plants from the Samaritan Purse. So the Samaritan Purse packed up their plants, and they're almost out of Grenada. You see, keeping the desal plants, in my mind, wasn't going to help or to aid anyone individually or personally. No political mileage from that, because the plants was given to them by Samaritan Purse. And so the boys won't benefit either. There's nothing to benefit from it. No eater food would take place there. So why are we keeping these plants, right? And today, I mean, the Samaritan Purse didn't even leave the island yet. And your desal plant break down. And again, Petit Martinique is made to suffer again. And as I said, it's like they just can't catch a break. Keep praying, Petit Martinique. Pray hard. They might have to call in the NDC prayer warriors to help. The carnage, the sidewalk is an eyesore. They put up lights over the broken sidewalk with steel sticking out of it so that people know they're coming onto a big ditch on the sidewalk. Besides that, the entire sidewalk needs repaving and redoing, right? If you look, you'd see the photos of the sidewalk. I mean, just look at this. Carnival was coming. We were supposed to have Carnival on Carnage, and the state of the sidewalk. I mean, please do something about the sidewalk. Please do something about the sidewalk. The tourists passing, I personally saw a tourist trip over right around that area there. I think it was over a big piece of rope, though, that was tied from the boat. You know, it's so unsightly. But like A.J. Blaze Street, where they're now fixing, that sidewalk It's been there. It's been like that. It's getting worse. They stick steel and thing in it, and nothing else happening. Nothing else happening. The Constantine Willis Road project. I drove past there and was amazed. Right in the Willis, Constantine, Annandale Junction there. Right, to see the amount of debris by the side of the road, how they took down the old pipe, old metal pipe thing that had formed the bridge, the barricade for the bridge. That is by the road, old board that they dig up from the boardwalk, the bridge walk there. That is their rotten wood, rotten boards. That is by the road, just left there. And that is there for months. And that is on the way to one of our most popular tourist attraction, the Annandale waterfall. And it's there by the road. The Prime Minister went up when the people called him. The people in the Northeast there in Willis called on him to come out and see what's going on, even though his hands were filled. They called him to come out, and he went. Him and the MP for the area, and they've decided and told the people that they were going to get the roads fixed. They hand over people, pack up their equipment. As a matter of fact, where they had their stuff being stored, it's fenced and marked no entry or something to that effect. The owner fenced it. I don't know if they're owing rent, but it's fenced and marked no entry, right? But it's the garbage, the debris by the side of the road that bothers me. And the school, the Constantine school, is right there. I did see that they seem to have bent some of the steel that the one resident had complained about, with the kids right there and they're running around, but there's still some sticking up. But for the most part, they try and bend the steel. I don't know if it's a good Samaritan, if it's a contractor, but it seemed like that's all was done, was the bending of the steel. Months ago, the people complained, and it's the same way. But the debris, please, we begging, remove it from the side of the street. Then there's the cliff project. Nothing happening, work stopped. A big, there's a tractor across the road, of a huge one, across, they packed it across the road. After they dig a big ditch, so that most vehicles would not have been able to pass there. That wasn't enough. They put the tractor across the road, right at the entrance when you leave in Springs to go to Calavini Road. They put a tractor across there. I mean, most of you passing there would have noticed that. And nothing happening. And those of us who use that road have to go through the Woburn Road much longer. It could get congested, and big potholes right now. When you go down in one, you swear you're leaving something in one of them holes when your car go down in those holes. I saw already, I don't know, but where did they pass? The CARICOM heads, they went to Six Senses and they didn't fix up the potholes. They allowed them to see these potholes. Hey, what is this at all? What is this at all? But we need to know from the Ministry of Infrastructure and the Minister of Infrastructure, which I think now is the Minister of MIT, is doing the infrastructure work. And so that's why I don't think the Prime Minister even know the work going on H.A. Street, unless he went to town and had to use the Green Street road. But in the interview there, he's still speaking about the big trucks could come across the carnage now that the lights have been removed. In the meantime, as I said, some of us have to deal with going through Woburn, and it is longer. And frankly speaking, I don't really like to pass through Woburn. The road, it becomes a one-way in the mornings, in the early mornings, in the evenings, after people come home from work. And it could be, as I said, very, very congested. As I understand it, the contracting firm for the road, the cliff project, so to speak, have not been paid. Not 1 cent yet. And they've been there a couple of months already. And although it's just the banks they shaved down, they have not been paid. And I understand it is alleged that is because the Minister of Infrastructure and the Ministry of Infrastructure did not sign off on that project. It was the Minister of MIT, but we went down that road already. Y'all don't know what took place there. The roadworks in True Blue Main Road has been done over several times, over and over, and it still needs doing over. A waste of money. Then again, the Ministry of Infrastructure with the same contractor for the cliff project. Is the Ministry of MIT the new Ministry of Infrastructure? What? And we all, our beloved Prime Minister who's doing so much, and it's the ministers around him that's not doing anything, and they're not helping him. And I ask again, can anybody, anyone, give me a list of the things the Prime Minister did through any of his ministries to make a difference since June 2022? Is it true the True Blue project and the Cliff project were negotiated and signed off by the Minister of MIT? Is it true the Cliff project was signed off or on without the knowledge of the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, and Minister of Infrastructure? The Kleboli Road leading up to Mount Pure water plant, it has worsened. We did celebrate them going to do something. The chipstone did not work. And because the drains are all blocked, the water ran down the middle of the road and the road has worsened. And so I am calling on the Ministry of Infrastructure for Ms. Rolanda McQueen and the residents and property owners of that roadway to please come and do something for them. Do something for them. We're moving on. We overloaded. You don't know, right? I want you to listen to a clip of former Minister Jonathan La Crette on the campaign trail.
I got into politics because I want to bring to the political landscape of Grenada a humanity in politics. We have gotten too inhumane, dogmatic, crab in a barrel. And because I support one side, I ain't meddling with you. But the love and the support must come back to our communities. The humanity of who we are, our equality, and our ability to include one another as we build together the human and social development of our people. Make no mistake, Mr. MP, we love you. And that is coming from the bottom of my heart, because I can't hold hatred here. And that is one of the reasons why the population of Petit Martinique, Carriacou and Grenada, I'm a bit emotional tonight, has voted you in. All aboard! I have come as your lifeguard tonight. None shall be left behind on this rescue mission. from Cherry Hill to Fontenoy to Grand Mall to Molyneux, Montmorris, Happy Hill, Boucher's, Granville, New Hampshire, and I can't forget my peeps way on Granton. This rescue mission is for you tonight.
Minister La Crette stood by his public oath and got fired for it. He was accused of secretly meeting with Dr. Mitchell, the opposition leader. False propaganda. What in fact happened is that Minister La Crette and the opposition leader, who is the MP for the area for St. George Northwest, met up a few times at church services, be it for graduation or for a funeral, several times, sat in the same pew and exchanged words. He did say there that because you're on opposite sides, you don't have to be enemies. I spoke of the premier from the Turks and Caicos, who traveled to Grenada with their opposition leader in the same aircraft that came from Turks and Caicos to Grenada. You don't have to be enemies. And therefore, if you're sitting next to each other, you would make like a chit chat. I've seen it happen several times. I've seen it happen with Andy Williams and Dr. Mitchell. Chatting the whole time, right? So, because he's speaking to Dr. Mitchell, he's having secret meetings with Dr. Mitchell, right? And so you don't trust him for that. And you don't trust him because he's leaking information to Simon Says. Senator La Crette's only sin, the sin that got him fired, was to uncover the corruption that's taken place inside the lottery authority and that's going on in Carriacou post-burial, Hurricane Beryl. He spoke of it to the cabinet. He wrote a letter firing, terminating the position of chairman by Mr. William Batiste. But we know all about that, right? A letter that was rescinded by the Prime Minister. But he didn't leave it there. He continued to speak to write to the Prime Minister about it, because in his mind, Mr. Batiste had to go. And the level of corruption he uncovered, any normal thinking person. But as I said, the girlfriend had to go as well, the Cindy Henry. She had to go as well. As a result, being the minister responsible, the gentleman wrote a letter of termination. But this whole situation with Minister La Crette and the Prime Minister started way back in March to come forward to the allegations involving some ministers, and maybe the blue-eyed boy was involved, right? Of corruption, both in the Lottery Authority and Carriacou, right? And he's fired. So the messenger was fired, And the culprits remain. They remain in the cabinet, whilst Jonathan La Crette, the messenger, was fired. Imagine being fired for identifying corruption and making an effort to stamp it out while the perpetrators remain in their substantive positions. How ironic is that? Last episode, I mentioned to you I had to go ahead and record Simon Says around the same time the Prime Minister's, even before actually, the Prime Minister's press briefing took place on the firing of Minister Senator La Crette at the time. Since then, I took a good look, and today we're going to have a conversation surrounding that press briefing. But first, let me share with you the clip with the Prime Minister telling us and telling the world why he fired Senator La Crette.
To inform the public that yesterday I advised the Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Cecile Agrenard, to recall the appointment of Minister Jonathan La Crette as the Minister for Youth and Sport, and also to recall his appointment as Senator as a result thereof, since his senatorial appointment was in effect to allow him to carry out his duties as a minister. I have since communicated that decision to Mr. La Crette yesterday morning and thanked him for his service to the government and people of Grenada as a Minister of Government and as a Senator. He has expressed his appreciation for being given the opportunity to serve in the Cabinet of Ministers. The reason for doing so is that as Prime Minister, sitting in the Cabinet, I formed the view that I had personally lost trust and confidence in Minister La Crette in his capacity as a minister, and in those circumstances I thought it was appropriate for me to inform him of that fact and to inform his fellow cabinet colleagues. I want to emphasize that there is no personal issues between myself and Mr. La Crette. I am quite fond of him. There are no personal issues between him and the ministers of government. They have an excellent relationship. This is purely an issue of my prime ministerial discretion in relation to Minister La Crette as a minister in cabinet, and in circumstances where as Prime Minister I no longer hold confidence in any particular minister, the only appropriate thing to do would be to allow the minister to be relieved of the burden of ministerial duties, and I have so done. I appreciate that the journalists who are here and other members of the media may have questions as to why I formed that view. I will indicate that I will not get into the nitty-gritty of the details because they are not appropriate given the fact that it's a trust and confidence issue, but I'm happy to entertain any questions that you may have nonetheless in light of that. For completion, I should indicate that Senator the Honorable David Andrew will act as Minister for Youth and Sport in the meantime until I make a further decision as to the substantive post of Minister for Youth and Sports or any further cabinet realignment that may arise thereof. Mr. La Crette still remains a member of the National Democratic Congress. I look forward to continuing to work with him in that capacity as a member of the National Democratic Congress. He has also acted as the caretaker for St. George Northwest, and unless he says otherwise, I expect that he will continue to do so.
So the Prime Minister made it clear, just as I told you last week, he had lost trust and confidence in Senator La Crette, and that he asked the Governor General to revoke both his senatorial and ministerial appointments. But when the Prime Minister was asked to explain what brought on this mistrust and loss of confidence in the minister, he said he will not get into the nitty-gritty. And why? Because he's a professional.
Good morning, and good morning to everyone on the head table. Mr. Prime Minister, less than, let's say, 2 months from celebrating your second year in office. All the ministers got high praises, even the Senator Jonathan La Crette. And today we're here at this juncture. And you're saying you lost confidence in the minister, but yet you're still saying that he remains a member of the NDC and you're willing to work with him on that end. And we're still trying to understand, and you're not giving us a direct reason as to why, because you don't want to go into details, but how is that even possible? How can you lose confidence in your minister, yet for us still able to work with him as a member of the party?
Because I'm a professional. That's why. So let me explain what I mean by that. The job of Prime Minister is not a personal job. It's a public job that requires me to act in the best interest of the cabinet, in the best interest of the government, and in the best interest of the National Democratic Congress. It is not a question of whether I like someone or whether I'm fond of someone. And it's actually not a question of whether yesterday you might have been performing spectacularly. It doesn't mean that today you may not be. And life is dynamic. And it is because life is dynamic, it's because I'm a professional, it's because I have no personal issues with former Minister La Crette, that I am able to continue working with him as a member of the National Democratic Congress.
Professional, you say. In my mind, the professional thing you should have done was to meet with Senator La Crette in a one-on-one. Discuss what you have to discuss. Tell him what you have to tell him, that you've lost confidence and you're firing him, but not in front of all his colleagues in what he thought was a regular cabinet meeting, right? There is nothing professional about the way you did it, sir. There's nothing professional about that. And nothing wrong to be personal with your cabinet members either. What's wrong with that? So you then held a press conference to tell the world that you fired him, right? For loss of trust and loss of confidence. And right now he's supposed to be looking for a job. And you call that professional. There's nothing professional about it in my mind. Right? And then all the decisions that you made that you were trying to make after, calling him to come back to a meeting, all of that you could have done if it was a one-on-one with him and you discuss if we're going to pay your salaries or we're going to get somebody to pay your salaries or make a gracious offer like you did with Ron Redhead. All these things could have been discussed in that setting if you took the professional route. But what was the meeting to discuss? The meeting you were calling him back for, to come back to the ministerial complex around 4. Was it for him to get a gracious offer in exchange for silence? Is it true, Prime Minister, Mr. La Crette was offered $2 million in exchange for his silence? Is it true? And I mean, this is not because of the rumors out there. This is not because of the rumors out there. Trust me on that. And is it true the former Minister Jonathan La Crette is also being offered, well, after he turned down the $2 million, he's being offered a gracious offer, being paid his salary, a bribe, in other words. You see, it was you that said, if you're hungry mouth and beggy, you can be bought.
But he was driving at a point, which is, you have to serve the people. If you're hungry mouth, if you beggy, You could come and be parliamentarian. All kind of people go buy you because they know you're hungry mouth. So you see, Mr. Speaker, you're a doctor, you're a professional. That's the point. Because you and I are professionals, we can serve. And people can't buy us. We can serve with distinction.
Oh, Senator La Crette, he has mortgages, car notes, and his family to take care of. Need I say more? And I quote, Mr. La Crette still remains a member of the National Democratic Congress. I look forward to continuing to work with him in that capacity of the National Democratic Congress. He has also acted as caretaker for the St. George Northwest, and unless he says otherwise, I expect he will continue to do so. Now, what's wrong with that statement? You just fired a man for lack of trust and loss of confidence, right? And then you want to continue to work with him in the party, which would be in the executive of the party, because once you're a caretaker or a candidate, you're an automatic member of the National Executive Council of the NDC. So then you want to continue working with him in your executive, where your engine room is the party that got into government, right? Although we're looking for the party these days and we can't find it. But it's the party. So how can you trust him inside your party where you make your decisions, where you form your strategies, and want him to continue as a candidate? And when that happens, what next? Okay, let's just say, for instance, he continued, he ran for elections, and he won his seat. Would you trust to bring him back inside your cabinet? Unless it's something really simple and minor. But then again, would you fire him for something simple and minor? Foot and mouth disease. Foot and mouth disease. I don't know what we did to deserve what we're getting, people. I really don't know. What have we done? I say all the time, I sit sometimes and say, Lord, what have we done? Please forgive us. And I quote, I want to emphasize that there is no personal issue between Mr. La Crette and myself. In fact, I'm quite fond of him, he said. We only haven't been cordial to each other since March 2024. We cordial. I'm fond of him, but we don't speak up to the point of him getting fired. We really didn't have anything cordial going on, except for, I guess, when it comes to being in cabinet and probably reporting on your ministry and that sort of thing. It is alleged that the Prime Minister had stopped speaking to the Minister La Crette, then Minister of Sports, to do with giving the permission to use the athletic stadium right after they spent millions to put on a new track to a promoter to host an event. And the permission was given by the Prime Minister, not the Minister of Sports, not through the Ministry of Sports, not through the Athletics Association, not through the Olympic Association, and not consulting with the stadium authority. And so when Mr. La Crette was approached by the media to find out, well, what's going on? How come Mr. La Crette boldly said, I have nothing to do with it. I don't know anything about it. And that is how the line went towards the Prime Minister and found out that he gave the permission, right? And so he wasn't happy about it. And I believe, in my own thinking, that probably, like the Samora, Mr. La Crette probably was supposed to take the fall, but he refused to take the fall. So the man gave vexed. The man gave vexed. And since then, it's been a rocky path. And you've heard it from then that any day now, La Crette would be gone. I mentioned it on right here that he was the next in line. He was the next in line. So I wasn't really surprised. I wasn't surprised. What surprised me though is the way it was done. It's the way it was done. When questioned further on the reason for the lack of trust and the confidence in Minister La Crette, this is what the Prime Minister had to say.
Prime Minister, can you highlight some of the scenarios that would have helped you to form your conclusion that you can no longer trust Honorable La Crette or would have lost the confidence in him?
Well, I just said I wasn't going to do so for that simple matter that trust and confidence is a personal matter in my capacity as minister, and for that reason I would obviously not want to disclose what I consider personal in a public setting.
Thank you, Mike.
Go ahead. No, I think, how do I say this? Although it's personal, I believe as Prime Minister that the public, on a decision like this, at least the public is owed some degree of explanation to help us to at least to support your decision, or at least to be clear of the thought that maybe it's not a situation of victimization also, because we know that will also be part of the narrative that goes out after today.
Well, no, so I understand the curiosity, but let me make it clear. When someone serves as a minister in government, they serve because the Prime Minister's asked them to serve. And at any point in time, even for no reasons, you could be relieved of your duties to so serve. So anyone who's serving as a minister understands that. Similarly, I serve as Prime Minister at the pleasure of the majority of the members of Parliament who are members of the National Democratic Congress. So I too understand that if I'm unable to command the majority support of the majority of the members of Parliament of the National Democratic Congress, that I too, they could relieve me of the burdens of being the Prime Minister. That is the political reality. And in those circumstances, if I behave in a manner where, even if I think I'm perfectly fine, it has led to a loss of confidence in the members, and they express that to me, then that's the reality. So I'm saying, in the context of me as Prime Minister and in the context of Minister La Crette as Minister, that is essentially what has happened. And I'm saying precisely for that reason, I don't think it would be appropriate or in the best interest of even the public to get into a public nitty-gritty discourse of the interactions between myself and the minister that would have led me to form that view. And I want to emphasize here that it is in relation to his sitting as a minister in the cabinet of the government of Grenada, because that is really the only basis upon which I would have formed that view.
And I'm going to quote again what he said, and I quote, "I want to emphasize that it is in relation to his sitting as minister in the cabinet of the government of Grenada because that is really the only base on which I formed that view. And that is him sitting in the cabinet. So it's all about him in the cabinet of Grenada. Now listen to this.
Our beloved Prime Minister has always been right. You hear me? Always right. And I know what's going down, you know. Don't believe I know. I know what's going down. Stop all your damn stupidness. You're a political weak heart. Stop it. Stop all your stupidness. Stop it. You hear me? Calm down. Because I know a lot regarding all what happening here, you know. And all this stupidness here, who and who publishing about cabinet and they had this and they had that. That's a damn lie. You had nothing in cabinet. No issue regarding cabinet. Nothing to do with cabinet. Nothing to do with cabinet. You hear me? Nothing to do with that. I know what transpired. And I could tell you. But I'm saying again, our beloved Prime Minister has always gotten it right. And again, he got it right. You heard me?
Now, this clip came from a live done by that individual later on the day the minister got fired, right? That was Wednesday the 31st. That clip, that live was done, and that of course is before the Prime Minister did his press briefing. So we have nothing to do with cabinet, right? Nothing to do. Yeah, I know everything. Yes, you know everything. But yours truly, shouldn't know anything, right? It's okay. If he knows everything, somebody is leaking to him the information, right? So leak is leak. Everybody must get a share in the leak. Eh? So why somebody can leak to me too? Poor Senator La Crette. Eh? The man didn't say a word to me. Never did. But they say I got him fired. According to that individual, it had nothing to do with cabinet, but quite contrary to what the Prime Minister said. We take a quick break and come back as we continue the conversation surrounding the press briefing.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.
Welcome back. In another question coming from the media, this is what happened.
Although you said that you're not going to go into the risk for your action. The allegation on the ground is that.
Well, I just gave you. I just gave you the reasons for my action. I told you I lost trust and confidence in him. I didn't, in his capacity as minister. So don't say I didn't give you the reason.
Okay. Yes, yeah, but yeah. So I'm asking. I'm saying to you that the allegation on the ground that there was a heated argument during the cabinet meeting yesterday. Are there any truth to that? What is out there? Are there any truth to that allegation?
No, there's no truth.
So,
no, there's no truth to that allegation. Let me repeat. I indicated to you that I informed the Governor General yesterday, and the only person who would have been present when I informed the Governor General is me and the Governor General. And then I would have informed Minister La Crette of my decision. That was done in the presence of the other cabinet colleagues. And that essentially is all that happened. Minister La Crette would have thanked me and thanked the colleagues for the opportunity to serve. And that's the extent of the engagement or interaction that happened between myself and Minister La Crette or Minister La Crette and the other cabinet colleagues.
First of all, Johnson, let me help you out here. The heated argument took place in the cabinet meeting the week before, on the 22nd of July, 2024. That's when the heated argument took place, not the day he got fired. The day he got fired, La Crette didn't have a chance to say a word. The Prime Minister walked in and went straight at La Crette, and he said, this meeting is about Senator Jonathan La Crette. Boom! And please leave. So there's no argument there. He got up quietly and left, just as the Prime Minister said. He smiled, he thanked them, and he left. It was a week before when he brought up the corruption issue amongst members of cabinet taking place. And that's when the heated argument took place. And might I ask the Prime Minister, is it true? You said then that that was Minister La Crette's last cabinet meeting. Is that why Minister La Crette was harassed by NDC surrogates, warning him, and I'm paraphrasing it, that more or less his days are numbered? And then you heard that individual saying he knew 2 weeks ago that that was coming. 2 weeks ago. He knew it would happen. Even if you said that it was that morning, the morning of the 31st of July, you asked the Governor General to revoke Minister La Crette's positions, his position in the Senate and in the ministry, in the cabinet, and that it was just both of you, meaning the Governor General and you, Prime Minister Mitchell, that knew that Senator La Crette was about to be fired. The individual said he knew it 2 weeks ago.
Those who call themselves NDC and who say that they supporting the transformation are a little weak. A little weak. What wrong with all you? Stop all your damn stupidness. Stop it. Our beloved Prime Minister has always been right, and he's bang on target again on this matter. I know more than you all know, and I knew 2 weeks ago. Hush all your mouth. Stop it.
Okay, you can't doubt a man what he know. But what I know is that someone not speaking the truth, be the Prime Minister or the individual. But if it is that the statement was made after the heated argument, sometime after, it wasn't made in front of Senator La Crette, of course, that cabinet meeting was going to be his last cabinet meeting. If that statement was made, I'm asking, I don't know if it's true, but if it was made, then it could add up to roughly 2 weeks ago, really. So, is the individual speaking the truth? And when the Prime Minister said it was just him and the Governor General that knew, because he did it that said morning, is the Prime Minister, or was the Prime Minister speaking the truth? Food for thought. I'll go with the individual, I can tell you that. Since March, as I said, it was rumored that Senator La Crette was next. Probably didn't know when. After the uncovering of the lottery corruption and the minister being made to rescind the termination letter given to the chairman of the board, William Batiste, the alleged utterances of his last cabinet 2 weeks ago and the harassment by the NDC surrogates, I conclude that is the beloved Prime Minister that's not telling the truth. And It's nothing new. It's nothing new. We know and seen it in open air. He accustomed. He preached during the campaign that they would take care of regularizing all public servants who are temporary in 12 months. And he said it loud and clear, in 12 months. He said it, Minister of Finance, Dennis Cornwall, during the campaign, said it. And then in the parliament one day, he just got up and said, we never said we would regularize everybody in 12 months. We said we would do it. But he said it. So it's easy thing for him to do. Further to that, when asked about the police security who escorted Minister La Crette from the cabinet, well, outside of the cabinet meeting, when he got outside, he was escorted, he was met by ACP Vanny Cowan and the head of security coming out of the Prime Minister's office, former COP, Mr. Thompson. Further to that, when asked about the police escorting Minister La Crette out of the building and to his vehicle, Prime Minister said he was not aware of such.
Thank you very much, Neela. Good morning to the Honorable Prime Minister and the other members of the head table and the listening public. There are reports that Mr. La Crette was escorted out of the complex by security forces. Can you confirm and explain, if so, can you explain the need or the rationale behind that move?
Well, I have no knowledge of that, so I can't confirm or deny, and I'd be surprised that can even take place. As I indicated earlier, let me repeat. I would have communicated to Minister La Crette my decision in the presence of cabinet colleagues in the cabinet room. Minister La Crette would have obviously then excused himself from the cabinet room. I remain in the cabinet room, so to my colleagues, so I'm not in a position to speak to anything that would have happened outside of that. I subsequently communicated with Minister La Crette by messages. Subsequently, he did not raise with me any of those issues, and well, I can't presume, but I would have thought that if something like that happened, that it would have been raised. So I'm not aware.
Okay. Now, information reaching me suggests that all telephones remain outside of the cabinet room, right? Somebody could put their phone and call. Now, if it is that the head of security for the government of Grenada, operating out of the Prime Minister's office, the former Commissioner, William Thompson, and the ACP, Vanny Cowan, was outside of the cabinet waiting on Mr. La Crette, escorted him to his office whilst he gathered his belongings and making sure he doesn't touch the computers, then subsequently escorting him to his vehicle. And the Prime Minister say he's not aware. How it is these two gentlemen knew, well, it's either the Prime Minister or the Governor General that called them, because the Prime Minister said they were the only two that knew what was about to go down. And they have no phones in the cabinet. So it means that these two gentlemen, I mean, 1 and 1 is 2. We could do what we want. We could say what we want. Sometimes I know their maths don't add up, but really and truly 1 and 1 is 2. And so if they had that information, they have to have gotten it before the Prime Minister entered the cabinet. Okay? Right? We're reasoning here. Therefore, how is it the Prime Minister have no knowledge of them? And then he went on to say that he had spoken to Senator La Crette after that in by messages. And Senator La Crette never mentioned that. Why would he? If he get fired and these two gentlemen show up and escort him out of the premises, in his mind, it had to come from the authority. It had to come from the boss. So why would you tell the boss that police escort you? You just assume that, you would assume that the directives was given by the boss, right? Maybe he expected Senator La Crette to behave bad or to get into a heated argument with him, as was the week before. So he had backup, but he didn't communicate with them that everything went smoothly. I guess he don't have the phone to do so. So they out there and they're waiting, right? But as I understand it, he was told when he got his office, don't touch the computers. So maybe they were there for that purpose as well, to make sure he goes to his office, gather his personal belongings, and leave. And they make sure he went straight to his vehicle and leave. And I do believe the Prime Minister was telling untruth when he said he had no idea. It's just because at the end of the day, the whole thing came across very distasteful in the mouths of the general public. And people saw no need for that. And they spoke about it. And so all of a sudden, I knew nothing of such. He knew nothing of it. Right? So if I have to choose who to believe, I mean, both of them does like bad, but I would kind of lean to the individual. But though the Prime Minister said it was him and the Governor General alone who knew of the revoking before he entered the cabinet, hear this.
On this matter, in fact, early this morning, I knew all that was about to take place. It's not new. All right, 2 weeks ago, I knew all the happenings, but I kept it. That's how I operate. I could be.
Again, who's telling the truth? Prime Minister saying it was just him and the Governor General. The individuals say he knew what was going on the said morning. And of course, he keep on saying he knew 2 weeks ago that was going to happen. Public workers, statutory bodies, employees, and board members, here is a strict warning to you.
The most honorable Deacon Mitchell, again, is right on the ball. Correct. You hear me? He is right. And I want to congratulate him. I want to wish the NDC administration well. And look, I know about some of those NNP lumpengs and zygotes and so on. It's a pity that, Anna Augustine, they in accident, which accident meet, and why you getting yourself in all that stupidness for? Stop your stupidness. Stop it. Why you getting yourself involved in that for? That don't make sense. Also, and then you have Royal Titus. I remember what really happened to Royal Titus in GIS? A good partner, I think Keith Mitchell, they deal with him too. What's wrong with him? What happened to him? And then he run in America and so on. But my good partner, my good boy. Right? Poor fella. But I'm saying to you, the majority of them believe that they could run the blah, blah, blah and talk nonsense. I'm saying to you, this is no breaking news. This is no drama. And all the falsehood they spread in there, nonsense. You see, they believe that Dickney is a walkover or run over. What's wrong with all you? What's wrong with all you? Something wrong with all you. You don't understand the man yet. Those in the different ministries who playing games and who them PS and senior this and senior do all kind of stupidness, you're forewarned. Those in statutory bodies leaking all kind of information, do next one and said, you are forewarned. Thank you, the most honorable Deacon Mitchell. You send in the right message. You send in the right message. They believe you're a walkover. They make it a mistake.
Let it be known that this individual seemed to have information that only the Prime Minister has. Okay? So, information is leaked. So when yours truly, have information, it don't matter who leak it and how I get it. It matters. Information leaking. He knows what's going on inside the cabinet of Grenada. Who's leaking the information to him? Huh? Who's leaking it? Laco? I highly doubt. I highly doubt. In the Weekly Rag, in an article headline, Jonathan La Crette is fired. In the Friday's episode dated Friday the 2nd August 2024, volume 16, number 39, and I quote, he said, within the corridors of Congress, there are reports that the Prime Minister was forced to take action after La Crette allegedly defied instructions taken at the level of the cabinet not to release the contents of letters he received from a financial institution about his financial standing. Now, remember, that's the GDB letter. Now, in my mind, that's a personal thing. The Prime Minister had said so when he tried to clear Minister Andy Williams, right? And Mr. Andy Williams is a citizen, a regular citizen, and if citizens get a loan, why he can't get loan? Well, Minister La Crette is a citizen as well. What good for the goose should be good for the gander. A well-placed source, and I'm continuing here, that comes from the paper, right? A well-placed source told the New Today that the sacked minister is the alleged suspect of a leaking of information from the National Lottery Authority, information to talk show hosts associated with the opposition New National Party of Keith Mitchell. A well-placed source, right? Leaked that information to the rag. But yours truly can't have information. I'm not supposed to have information as well. I'm doing my work. I'm investigating, right? So is Mr. Worm, right? He said that the Prime Minister is also disturbed of an alleged secret meeting between La Crette and Dr. Mitchell that was arranged by a female individual that was once linked to the Integrity Commission. My investigation suggests that there was no such meeting. The New Today is also aware that Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell was disturbed when he was informed several months ago that a bailiff contracted by the Nexa Credit Union was about to repose Senator La Crette's vehicle for non-payment of a loan. Now, this is a big joke. We have all kind of people reporting business people, big, small, medium, and large, complained to the Prime Minister about Andy Williams and the monies he owing them, complained about the bounce checks, which is a crime on the books in Grenada. And he is still the blue-eye boy, right? Allegations of him receiving a $100,000 handshake and bleeding the contractor on the carronage of $10,000 every so often. And he is still the blue-eye boy. Going behind your back and signing contract, getting his vehicle fixed as part of the deal to get a contract, $15,000. And he is still the blue-eye boy. So how it is, La Crette's personal business about his car and non-payment. And by the way, same Minister Andy Williams was not servicing his loan that he had at the GDB before he became minister, right? Went in there, got another loan, and still not servicing it as he should. But he is still the blue-eye boy. So how it is that is part of the reason why La Crette has been fired. Things stacked up against him. One of it being him not paying for his vehicle and Prime Minister sending another minister to talk to him about it and all this drama. Why? A government insider said, a government insider, he's getting information from a government insider. He's doing his investigative journalism. But yours truly, not supposed to do it as well and get information. It had to come directly from La Crette. A government insider said the Prime Minister summoned La Crette to a meeting to try and resolve the issue that could have been embarrassing to his administration. In addition, La Crette did not cooperate with the colleague minister, and he damn right. I hear you well speech him off. Go and mind your business and leave mine alone, right? Did not cooperate with the colleague minister who approached him on holding his hands on the appointment of a government employee who was working on contract as opposed to an appointment letter from the Public Service Commission. Now, a well-placed soul told the New Today, well-placed source, a government insider. These are the terms being used in the article. He's aware of what Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell is disturbed about. Who told him the Prime Minister was disturbed? Who leaked the information to him about the Prime Minister? But no, it's how Simon Says got her information. I'll say it again. I have had no conversation, none whatsoever, up to this point, none, with Senator Jonathan La Crette, or former Senator, should I say, Jonathan La Crette. Never. We're going to go into some news quickly. Current affairs. Folks, data from the Citizen by Investment Unit, the CBI, recently rebranded Investment Migration Agency, IMA, shows, and I like the word migration there. There's a reason for that. It shows that from January to June 2024, the cabinet approved 3,034 people, investors, right? From January to December 2023, the investment members was 4,764 investors, with 714 from July to December 2022, right? In comparison, the total for the 24-month period the NDC been in office is a total of 8,512 passports sold. The CBI program began in 2014 under the former New National Party administration. And until June 2022, right, the government approved 7,472 new citizens. This year marks the program's 10th year. And a review of the Ministry of Finance data shows that the total number of citizens approved throughout the program is 15,984 investors. So this new NDC administration sold more passports in 2 years than the NNP sold in 8 years. 1,040 more passports were sold. Imagine that. They sold more passports in 2 years than the NNP sold in 8 years. But the NDC complained about the NNP selling passports. It was a bad program, and we were going to get rid of it. The NDC was going to get rid of it. And the now Attorney General, the then PRO of the NDC, Claudette Joseph, had a list of things that she demanded, that's with the leader sitting next to her, that they demanded out of the CBI program. Let's hear what she had to say.
No country can run a proper CBI program if the officials around it are corrupt. NDC therefore demands that there must be substantial changes to the CBI law now. These changes must include: 1, making it a criminal offense punishable by long jail time to sell diplomatic passports. 2, making it mandatory for the names, addresses, and countries of origins of all persons applying for and obtaining CBI status to be published. 3, making it illegal for government officials to invest in CBI-approved projects. This is a clear conflict of interest. 4, requiring stringent due diligence that is not influenced by government officials. 5, removing some of the powers of the minister into the hands of an independent, qualified body. And 6, barring persons acquiring CBI status from being able to vote in our elections.
Now, that reminds me of a saying we used to have as children going to school: pot calling kettle black. Talking about corruption. Pot calling kettle black. But that's okay. She had her demands. She is now sitting as Attorney General and Minister for Legal Affairs within the NDC cabinet, government, and She has nothing to say since about the CBI program anymore. The same program. Nothing to say. And they're selling more passports than the NNP sold. And with Nazenberg around as the former leader of the NDC, now CBI agent himself, selling passports as fish cake. But what I say, if you can't beat them, join them. There is what he had to say there.
And we wish to take this opportunity today to make it very clear that an NDC administration would put an end to the sale of the Grenadian passport, and we will scrap the NNP CBI program. We will scrap the NNP CBI program. This program, as we see it, is not in our best interest in the way that it is being administered. We must make it absolutely clear that as far as we are concerned, the Grenada passport is not a commodity. It's an instrument of national identity. And what must be happening is that our government should be acting as the custodians of our passport, not as the merchants of our passport. It cannot be that in the name of selling our passport, you are doing this without any regard for the concerns with our national reputation, the concerns with our pride as a nation, the concerns with our independence, the safety and security concerns, and the risks that it poses for business persons who wish to use the local commercial banks so as to enter into corresponding banking relationships with others. This, our government must not become, and our country must not become a magnet for criminals and conmen. All right? We should not be in a position where we find ourselves ashamed and embarrassed and worried every day that something terrible is going to happen to us because in whose hands our passport ends up. So we must make it absolutely clear that we will bring this program to an end. We will bring this program to an end. It is unacceptable what is going on, and in spite of all the calls, in spite of all the warnings, in spite of all the statements, in spite of all the risks, this government is simply turning up its nose at the nation. So we wish to express our total disgust with what is going on and make it absolutely clear that we will put a stop to this when we form the government.
Mr. Burke now has no concerns. And folks, would you believe that this gentleman that you heard, he had all these concerns, put in a scrap, and they're going to scrap the CBI program, the NNP CBI program, is now an agent and is selling passports? It had broken my heart in pieces when I heard that and saw that Mr. Burke is an agent selling passports, right? And so the same NNP project, the same NNP CBI project, the same, nothing changed. As a matter of fact, it must be get worse because the leader of government business in the Senate thinks that he probably was supposed to keep and leave inside the cabinet, went and tell the world that the CBI project is open to everybody, no matter your country, your color, your creed, nothing. Everybody, Russians, everybody, he called out. So it's worse. It's worse. In other news, in an article dated July 18, 2024, Garfin revoked the license of We Pay Money Service Business. Garfin is the Grenada Authority for the Regulation of Financial Institutions. We Pay launched in Grenada in May of 2023. At the launch, key advantages included streamlined and efficient money transfer experience. We Pay, a Trinidad and Tobago electronic money service business, which was established in 2017 and launched in Grenada in 2023, was recently revoked by the Grenada Authority of the Regulation of Financial Institution, Garfin. Now, Garfin is an institution that has been professional and strong, and you know, you always heard good things about Garfin. In a notice from Garfin, and I quote, in accordance with the provisions of Section 33(1)(a) of the Money Service Business Act, Cap 198A, the Grenada Authority for the Regulation of Financial Institutions, Garfin, as the authority responsible for money services business, hereby revoke the license of WIPE Grenada Limited with immediate effect. Now, according to the Minister of Education, WIPE does not need license to operate in Grenada. Education Minister David Andrews announced that the government of Grenada will continue to engage WIPE Caribbean to provide cashless electronic transaction in to recipients of the school books and uniform programs, although the regulatory body for financial services has revoked the license to operate in Grenada. On August the 1st, with the Prime Minister sitting next to him, the Minister of Education, Minister Andrews, told the news conference that the government of Grenada, through the Ministry of Education, will partner with WIPE Caribbean for the Digital Student Grant Assistance programs and the company agents to set to receive training in the coming days. This is what the minister had to say.
So the first I want to talk about is the School Supplies and Uniform Assistance Program. As many of you are aware, the Ministry of Education has been in the process of uploading the applicants to that program. We continue to make available support to parents for their children attending schools to purchase school supplies and uniform. And let me put on record here that the medium through which persons get onto those programs is through the schools. So parents are encouraged, if you think your child or your ward is in need of that kind of support, we encourage you to go to the schools, go to the principal and say, please enlist my child. And every principal ought to enlist your child, because this is a provision of the government of Grenada. It's a provision that the Ministry of Education is making available to all of our nation's students. Now, teachers can make recommendations, our school attendance officers can make recommendations, our counselors may make recommendations, but at the end of the day, parents can come forward and go to the schools to get their children enlisted. So we have received quite a lot of applications, and they are currently being uploaded and verified at the Ministry of Education. We are happy to report that the WIPE platform that we are using to have those cashless transfers done, we have engaged them directly. Previously, we had some agents that we were working through, and that proved to be a bit challenging for us. Now, though, we are working directly with the agents, and they are due to come into Grenada sometime next week to do training with the vendors. So a number of local vendors have been enlisted, and they'll be trained. The special adaptable machines that are made to the machine readable codes where all the information is put in. And so we're using the same methodology. The WIPE agent, the WIPE directors are going to be in Grenada next week to train vendors in the use of the machine and to have them installed. And so we anticipate that sometime before the end of next week, we could have the first set of payments made to beneficiaries. So parents, you can look forward to that.
The license of WIPE was revoked by Garfin for inability to meet basic operating requirements to safety local regulations under law. Let me take that again. The license of WIPE was revoked by Garfin for inability to meet basic operating requirements to safety, local regulations under law. However, the government of Grenada will continue to do business with WePay. But that's no different, that's no difference to all the persons, the shady persons that are now to have positions within the government of Grenada by this administration. WePay has a multi-million-dollar contract with the Ministry of Education for outfitting schools. How is that possible when they have no license to operate in Grenada? The people need answers. Also in the news, you might have seen an InterCaribbean aircraft with its tail adorned in the colors of the Grenada flag, basically with the flag, with the painted on. No, Grenada did not purchase a plane, and no, we don't have shares in InterCaribbean either. And Grenada stands to benefit nothing more from InterCaribbean than any other island, who, as I understand it, would soon have their tails as well. Now, InterCaribbean has been flying to Grenada. I haven't heard the Prime Minister say that we have added flights because they have their flag on our tail. Haven't heard the Prime Minister say that they'll be more punctual because they have our flag painted on the tail. I haven't heard that they would stop cancellations of flights and leave people stranded throughout the Caribbean because our flag is on the tail. That was not an inaugural flight of InterCaribbean. The government of Grenada did nothing to have the tail painted with our flag. It was, and the Prime Minister said it was between the Tourism Authority and the owner of the planes, Mr. Lyndon Gardner, and I believe his relationship with Ms. Petra Road, that long-standing business relationship from many, many years ago, we got the first deal. I don't know how to put it, but you see, the government did not explain. I've been getting calls. So we buy a plane. So the Prime Minister buy the plane. In truth, we did not purchase a plane. We don't have shares in InterCaribbean, right? But for the heck of it, let's hear what the rock star, in the words of the Iceman, had to say at the unveiling.
It is with great pleasure, pride and excitement that we gather here this morning to mark this historic occasion, marking a new chapter for Grenada, Grenada's Tourism Authority, the Ministry of Tourism, and our relationship with InterCaribbean. As the Minister for Civil Aviation, I'm thrilled to share this moment with my colleagues and with you, and to highlight the significance of this occasion, especially as Grenada marks its 50th year of independence. So we welcome this new look. It's the first of its kind for Grenada, and we are happy to be the trailblazers, or in this case, the tailblazers. The spirit of Grenada represents our government's commitment to boosting tourism, the tourism industry, and obviously our economy. But I want to say first, to ensuring that all people have the opportunity to move. It is not just about tourism, it's about the fact that if we are going to play a significant part in supporting our people, mobility becomes critical. And if you can't leave Grenada, or if you can't get to Grenada, we can forget the tourism industry. Because first and foremost, our people need to be able to move. And so, Mr. Gardner, I want to thank you and your team. I want to thank the team at the Ministry of Tourism for ensuring that we were able to get this done. To the Grenadian crew, I'm happy with you being given the privilege to fly the Grenadian Spirit to Morris Bishop International Airport.
What is the new chapter? What is the new chapter that we know in with this plane? What? Is the fare cheaper? No. It's more expensive to fly InterCaribbean it's cheaper to fly American airline or JetBlue to New York than to fly within the Caribbean, Barbados, Trinidad, St. Lucia. Is it now cheaper? Are we getting cheaper fares? What is the benefit? It looks good, it's pretty, yeah. But you'd swear this is the first time InterCaribbean land here and that they have flights, regular flights to Grenada, to and from Grenada, more than anywhere else. But again, it's the rock star. What we need is cheaper fares. What we need is punctuality, and that this InterCaribbean will not leave us throughout the Caribbean when we're trying to get home or to get where we're going. That's what we need from InterCaribbean. We wrap up with some questions, of course. Where is the murder accused for John T's murder? The people would like to know. The people would like to know. To be continued. Why is the lone local OBGYN specialist working at the General Hospital sent on administrative leave and has already been there for 2 months? Now we left with only Cubans at the General Hospital. Folks, I don't know where we are heading, but we are heading there fast. Is it true the government of Grenada is repairing Mr. Leo Joseph building, his private personal building in Carriacou, and Kim the King building for free? Two businessmen and Big Ten NDC party supporters, while poor people in Carriacou are living under steps in open air, and majority still in shelters without homes, and others left to fend for themselves, fix their own place, the ones who can afford to. What about other businesses in Carriacou, like the family store and Dollar Man and Matheson's, whose businesses was also been damaged, also got damaged? What about other businesses in Carriacou, like the family store, the Matheson's, and the Dollar Man, whose businesses also got damaged in the hurricane? Again, what good for the goose, good for the gander? And why are we fixing for free these properties? Why? Folks, I leave you with a video of our Minister for Climate Change and the MP for St. John, Now, no amount of excitement should interfere with the professionalism of our ministers. Now, this job, yes, you're young, but if you can't control yourself as an individual, you have no right there. You have no right there. Earlier on the day, she was seen walking the street. I saw it because there was a live going on. They had the big screen for Kirani's race with a bear, but drinking a bear, walking the street. And later on, this is what we've seen. There, Minister Karine James, using obscenities, the big F sharp, in a public forum with endless kids, with endless young people, with adults, with elderly. And to express herself, she had to use an obscenity, which, by the way, the young men around get arrested for using obscenities because it's on the books as breaking the law. And we've seen it. We've seen police scratching up guys in town for using obscenities. Folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, keeping them honest. Thank you for viewing Simon Says. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye now.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.